So this coming June is going to be quite an event because there are a lot of rumors floating around as of the recording of this video. A new Wario Land is supposedly on the horizon. A new Luigi's Mansion is supposedly on the horizon. And the Mario Galaxy movie has just come out. So with all that being said, here is what I'm thinking. What if, with Wario World being on the Switch now, with the idea of a Luigi's Mansion continuation in our midst, with the reality of there possibly being a new Wario Land on the horizon, what if we treat Waluigi's first true standalone debut as an homage to how Wario started out? Because you see, Wario was the main antagonist of Super Mario Land 2, 6 Golden Coins, and he has a dope commercial. I love that commercial growing up in the early 2000s. Anyway, the point is, what if we put Waluigi in Luigi's Mansion, not as a protagonist, but as an apprentice to the usual antagonist in King Boo? Because what if Luigi, right? He is a protege, I guess you could say, to Egad. He wields the poltergeist in all the games, etc., etc. What if King Boo is tired of losing? He's tired of being upstaged by the Green Plumber. He wants to defeat him once and for all. So perhaps the only way to defeat a plumber is with another plumber. So he hires or contracts Waluigi to take care of him. Now, the funny thing that a few people have touched on over the years, but has never really been explored in a video game, and this could be a whole video within itself, and we probably will make one, but what people I think don't get about Waluigi is that Waluigi is supposed to be the opposite of Luigi, but people think that his motives are just being mad because he can't cheat and other people succeed over him. That's not the point. The point is that Luigi himself is a very humble individual. You see this very, very blandly in the Luigi's Mansion series, because in Luigi's Mansion 2, his house is actually quite a very modest home. It's actually the D rank home that you get at the end of Luigi's Mansion 1. So that goes to show you that Luigi isn't really about being famous, even though in terms of the real world, and I guess the Mushroom Kingdom as well, he's probably the most famous person under Mario. However, this is the main point of the argument. In being Luigi's opposite, Waluigi cares about fame immensely. That is why he always thinks other people are cheating him, because he is fame personified. He is always chasing recognition. He doesn't care about money per se, because he's never associated with money like Wario is, but he always wants to win for the simple recognition of being seen by others as a winner, as somebody on top. That's why I think he and Wario get along so well, because they are essentially chasing two different things, even when they are in a partnership going after the same goal. Wario doesn't care about fame, even though in the real world he has 2 video game series to his name. He cares about money. He's always been characterized in caring about monetary gain and or things that are seen as valuable. While Luigi, on the other hand, doesn't care about monetary value of objects at all. He only cares about things that help him to win. He cares about the recognition associated with becoming famous, with completing the goal and being the best. So that is why they get along well, because their goals don't overlap with one another in a threatening way. Wario will happily take the prize money and perhaps give Waluigi all the credit for the win, because the credit for the win means nothing to him, but it means everything to Waluigi. But to continue, that is why he despises Luigi, because Luigi doesn't have to try in order to get recognition. He just gains recognition from his proximity to Mario and has become a hero in his own right, especially when you consider the Luigi's Mansion series. So Waluigi doesn't like that, which is why I would think it would be very strategic to place him in the world of Luigi's Mansion. And I believe this is how King Boo convinces him to join his side, as King Boo would egg Waluigi on, giving him examples of how Luigi doesn't even have to try in order to become famous. Yet Waluigi tries time and time again to gain recognition, but always fails. So this would be a prime opportunity for him to be the most famous person in the world by finally defeating Luigi and getting rid of him once and for all. That is when I think King Boo will give Waluigi some sort of power-up in order to combat the powers of the Poltergust. Now, this might be silly, and this could be going out on a limb, but what's very interesting about Waluigi in the Mario Kart games of recent date is that in Mario Kart Tour and in Mario Kart World, he is given vampire costumes. In Mario Kart Tour, it's just a simple vampire costume. However, this vampire costume is given a very specific name in Mario Kart World called the Wampire. But what is so interesting about the vampire costume is that it is the only costume of Waluigi's that has a special name. Everything else is basically what it is. The mariachi costume is called mariachi. The road ruffian is called the road ruffian costume, etc. And then what's even weirder about this is that I can't even say this technically is a reference to Wario, because one, Wario doesn't have a vampire costume in this game yet. And when Wario turns into a vampire during Wario Land 3, the form is just called Vampire Wario. It's not called Vampire Wario. Also, as a second additional point, technically Waluigi has nothing to do with Wario Land. He's never appeared in the Wario Land series as far as I know, so it wouldn't even make sense for this vampire costume to be a reference to Wario or Wario Land. But to continue, so that's very, very interesting that Waluigi's vampire costume gets this special treatment. And I think the reason why it's being given this special treatment is because he most likely will become a vampire in Luigi's Mansion 4, in being the secondary antagonist under King Boo. Now, with that being said, I think over the course of the game, he'll fight Waluigi at certain intervals, and getting frustrated at his constant losses, he will eventually overtake King Boo, take his crown, and become a super vampire of sorts, and he'll engage in a final battle with Luigi in that way. Now, as a cheeky side note, this makes a lot of sense for Waluigi to appear in the fourth Luigi's Mansion game, because he is the fourth plumber character to be created chronologically. Also, what I could see happening after this game is that, much like how Luigi is always associated with ghosts in a multitude of different ways after Luigi's Mansion, Waluigi will always most likely be associated with being a vampire after Luigi's Mansion 4. I think that makes a lot of sense. It also makes sense for Waluigi to take King Boo's crown, because King Boo's crown in the Luigi's Mansion series has always been depicted as a huge purple gem, and of course Waluigi's primary color is purple. So I think it all meshes together in a very creative and interesting way. So am I saying that I want Waluigi to become Nintendo's Nosferatu, or their attempt at making Danny Phantom? Yes. I hope he can split into bats like Bayonetta and become a swarm of bats with L-shaped mustaches and pink noses. I think that would be pretty great. But with that being said, stay rosy.